Here I am wandering through the woods on July of the 4th, musing incongruously about a possibility that pertains to the Mandela Effect. So here's what I've been thinking about lately. It's just a hypothesis. And I think in prior videos I've sort of indicated that my thoughts are somewhat along these lines, although there's no firm proof of anything really with something as mysterious and inexplicable and difficult to understand as the Mandela Effect. But here's what I was thinking. There's a passage in Orwell's 1984, a very formative passage, a very edifying passage, if quite depressing, as the whole book is quite depressing, where O'Neill is torturing the hero Winston Smith, and in order to break his will, he gets him to see that reality is only what the party says it is. So if I'm reading Middlemarch right now, and there's a character in that book named Will. But if Winston believes that 2 + 2 is 4, and that's a mathematical certainty, and there's no way that can be changed. That can't be changed by any dictate of the party. Did I say O'Neill? It's O'Brien. I wonder what Orwell had against the Irish to make the villain an Irishman. It just occurred to me here. I don't have any way of even beginning to speculate on that front. But anyway, O'Brien says to Winston in his torture cell, no, Winston, you're wrong. If the party says that 2 + 2 is 5, then 2 + 2 is 5. And if we say that we've always been at war with East Asia, when up till yesterday it seemed like we were at war with Eurasia, or vice versa, then we've always been at war with East Asia. And when something goes down the memory hole, it's just forgotten. And it's not only forgotten, it ceases to be. The reality is what the party says reality is. And gradually, Winston Smith gets worn down by this method of torture, which is a method of intellectual torture. It's a method of mental torture. Because what do we have if we don't have access to truth? If we can't rely on truth, and if truth is inviolable, if truth isn't inviolable, but something can change from a lie to truth, or from truth to a lie, because someone powerful says that it just declares it to be so, then what's really left? What's left for anyone? And if you can be persuaded to believe that, then you have been shackled into mental slavery. And under enough duress, unfortunately, Winston capitulates. He becomes a slave to the party. Not only because of physical torture, but because of mental torture, which is no less torturous. So here's how I connect this with the Mandela effect. What might be going on with the Mandela effect? Those of us who are Mandela affected remember reality a certain way. And as always, I just give my disclaimer. If you think the Mandela effect is a waste of time, don't listen. Don't turn this off and go watch another video. But if you think the Mandela effect is something worth discussing, then keep watching. Okay. So if we remember things clearly being a certain way, whether it's something seemingly inconsequential, like the name of a children's book, or that Ed McMahon represented Publishers Clearinghouse and went to people's door with a big check, and this was seen by everybody, acknowledged by everybody, but suddenly it was emerged that it wasn't so, or any number of other things, all the various things, all the various Mandela effects that have been charted. What we're told we should think by those who think the Mandela effect is bunk. What we're told to think is you, not just you, but millions of other people, literally millions of people who have the same collective memory that you have. You're all wrong. You're all wrong. You're all misremembering because your memory cannot be trusted. Your memory is fiction. Your memory is just as easily fiction as it is fact. So if you remember something and you remember it clearly, and your memory is confirmed by not just thousands of other people, but millions of other people who remember the same thing that you remember, well, you should just shut up about it. You should just say, well, obviously we're wrong, because look, it's always been Berenstain, and in spite of all the residue, the Ed McMahon never came to people's doors, in spite of all the references to it that were made by everybody, by a bunch of people who knew him and a bunch of pop culture prominent people of that time. As silly as these examples are, and they might not strike you as a big deal, and I agree, in the long and short of it, just taken in and of itself, it's not really a big deal, whether it's Berenstain or Berenstain, or whether Ed McMahon belonged to Publishers Clearinghouse Sweepstakes or some other company that you've never heard of, and whether he actually came to people's doors with a big check or didn't, or all of the various other things included in the Mandela effect. And I don't think all of the Mandela effect, I don't think every reported Mandela effect is valid. I don't. There are some of them that I reject. But so I'm not saying I'm just credulously believing everything that is claimed to be a Mandela effect. But for those things that are clear remembrances that I have and that millions of other people have, if those memories, if we can be convinced that those memories that we all have are wrong, that they're just constructions, and that our minds are less reliable than whoever the authorities are who are telling us what really happened in history. If we just do what Winston Smith did under duress, I'm not saying I blame him, and if it were to happen in real life, I think there's a good chance that God would forgive him under such circumstances. But if we capitulate and say, you must be right, I must be wrong, it says in that document that it was never this way, it was always that way, even though I and millions of other people remember it being the way that we remember it. It still must be the way that you say that it was. If we do that, what are we doing? We're as good as saying what Winston Smith said, when Winston Smith relinquished his fight and capitulated to O'Brien as a representative of the party, as a representative of the state, of the powers that be. What we're doing is capitulating to people, to forces. They might be people, maybe they're not even people, I don't know, on the high end of the hierarchy or the low end of the lowerarchy, as the case may be. This might be something that goes beyond mere humanity. It might be something that goes into the spiritual realm. But if we give ourselves over, if we say, well, I guess I'm wrong, and X is not X, X is Y, because you people say that it is, because you Redditors or you people at Snopes.com, you fact checkers, or you whatever you are, you say that I'm wrong, that my memory is wrong, and and that the memories of millions of other people who remember it just like I remember it are also wrong. Then in essence what you're doing is you're handing your mind over to I don't know what even to call it, to the powers that be, to the state, to the principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions. You're capitulating, you're relinquishing your what you know to be true. What you know to be true, you're relinquishing that. And if they can get you to do that about things that millions of people remember the same way that you remember it, well, then they can certainly get you to think other things as well. Once you capitulate, once you say the ultimate authority is in the hands of, the party, O'Brien, the state, the principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions, once you say that, it might not seem like a big deal, but what you're really saying is that you give yourself over. You let yourself be overruled by those who claim authority over you, those who claim the authority to enslave your mind and to get you to think whatever they want you to think. And then you're on the path to just mind slavery, where something is true because they say that it's true. And then they might say the very opposite thing the next day. There's no principle of non-contradiction. It's whatever they say is true at any given time, and you've got to believe it. You've got to just believe it, or else you're just being silly. You're foolishly trusting in your own memory, which also, again, happens to reflect the memory of millions and millions of other people. If they can do it with little things, they can do it with bigger things. If they can do it with things where there's ample evidence to the contrary, like these Mandela Effect examples, then they can do it with something, they can certainly do it with something where it's, there's far less evidence other than your memory, other than it's something that you know and believe in all your heart to be true. They can take it and they can mangle it. They can take your dearest, deepest convictions and have you believe in the opposite. They can have you believing that murder is good and refraining from murder is bad. They can have you believe that any given crime, any crime they see fit to try to get you to perform for them, any ill deed, they can get you to believe that it's actually good instead of bad. It's a slippery slope to use that familiar, maybe somewhat cliched, but still, I think, apt metaphor. Those are my thoughts on the Mandela Effect on this July of the 4th, 2025.